Morning News with Matt Patrick now.
KTRH News Time is 8:47, and joining us right now, presidential candidate at Lake Jackson, Congressman Dr. Ron Paul. Dr. Paul, welcome back to Houston's Morning News. Great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
I want to read something that you said, and then ask if you could explain it. You said default is coming. Now, wait a minute. I thought yesterday from the president, I heard it wasn't coming. And the only argument that's going on now is how to default, not send the checks out or just print the money. In all countries our size, they always print the money. You say they're going to raise the debt limit, which indeed they will, and then they're going to print the money. Then they'll default by inflation, and that's more dangerous. Now, wait a minute, Dr. Paul. The stock market's up 130. What are you doing? You're throwing a wet blanket on this whole thing.
Yeah. I remember when we defaulted in 1971, where we had promised always to pay an ounce of gold for $35, and we defaulted, and the next day the stock market soared and everybody was happy, but then it led into the decade of the 1970s and it was a disaster.
Right.
And so temporarily, in the short term, you don't know how these markets will react, but long term, this means that we will not default by not sending out the checks. Nobody expects that to happen, even though the bill hasn't passed yet. That won't happen, but we will continue to send checks out. But if your dollar only buys 50 cents worth of goods, somebody's cheated you. And this is the way governments do it. And it's more seductive. They can get away with it. It seems like they're delaying the inevitable, and people don't quite understand it. But that's what they do to default. But this whole idea that this would be the first default in history. We've defaulted several times. We did it when we stole the gold from the American people in the 30s. Again, the gold from the foreigners. We wouldn't return gold to them in the 1970s. Silver. I mean, if you have a silver certificate and you go to the Federal Reserve Bank and say, "Hey, I want my ounce of silver,"
right.
They don't do it. So they've cheated us many times already. This is just a little more sophisticated, but the process will continue, which means that we can expect an accelerated rate of inflation. Prices are going to go up much faster next year.
Congressman, I got just one quick question. I just need a yes or no answer on it, and then I'm gonna ask you to hang on because I have another question I have to ask you. But first of all, this thing comes up for a vote. You voting yes or no on this?
I'll be voting no. Easy no for me.
All right. And the next question I have, and I want you to think about this. They had the straw poll in Denver. Herman Cain comes out on top, but the number 2 guy is a guy by the name of Rick Perry. He hasn't even thrown his hat into the ring. You are running for president. I'm curious as to your thoughts when you see things like that with our governor, and I'm going to ask you to think about it. I'm going to hold you, and I'm going to come back and ask you how you feel about Rick Perry. But first, we're going to take a look at our traffic and weather together.
Now, back to Matt and your morning news.
8:52 here at KTRH, and we are joined by presidential candidate and Lake Jackson Congressman Ron Paul. And Congressman Paul, is it frustrating to you as you are running for the presidency to see, these straw polls? I know they don't mean a whole heck of a lot, but you got a guy like Herman Cain who obviously did very well, and then coming in second, although a distant second in Denver, was Rick Perry. Does this frustrate you at all as you look at this and you're running for the presidency again?
Well, I guess you could ask them if it was frustrating to see me come in first place over in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And so these things are done by depending on who goes to the events and who campaigns them. So they aren't known to set the standard, but they are important. Just like the Ames straw vote coming up will be a big one.
Right.
And that's going to be on the 13th. That's much more significant. Matter of fact, I didn't even know that thing was going on over at Denver, so I wasn't invited and I had no information about it. But Ames will be much more important.
You expect Perry to throw his hat in the ring? I think we all kind of expect that to happen.
Yeah, I think so. But I think he'll have his problems explaining a few of his positions. But, I think most people expect him to do it.
Congressman, I thank you for your time, as always. And listen, before I let you go, can I just say one thing? Do you need me to help track down Don Lemon? And, I saw what he did with Rand, and, that wasn't very nice. I mean, maybe we could go and straighten this guy out. What do you think?
I'd be in favor of that. So good luck for us.
It is always a pleasure to have you on, sir, and good luck. I look forward to talking with you again as we move forward with the election year here coming up in 2012. The best of luck to you.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Presidential candidate in Lake Jansen, Congressman Ron Paul here this morning.